Hello everyone, welcome to the ICE and ARCWARE webinar, The Power of Storytelling of Interactive 3D Content. Welcome everyone. My name is Dirk Stemers. I organize the webinars here at ARCWARE. On the left of me is Manolos, for some of you a very close friend already, our co-founder of ARCWARE. And here to my right is Matthias, founder of ICE.ART. And our very good friend who today we are organizing our ICE Nexus 1 event with. So today we have a bunch of really amazing guest speakers ahead of us. Matthias will explain everything about this. And if I just look at all of the people who are joining us today, I can see some very pleasant, familiar faces that I am very happy to see that they are attending. Some ARCWARE users, some new users, so all very exciting. We have a fantastic number of guest speakers here, most of whom we also know all very well. And so I think the only thing that is left to do at the very beginning is just to start and to move things to Matthias. So please, take the floor.
All right. So welcome everybody. Maybe you guys can send a thumbs up or so from the audience if everything is live, if you can hear us. Maybe we can check in the chat.
Yes, we see some thumbs coming.
All right.
Sound and feed is good, Matt, from Mike Shawbrook.
Sweet. Ooh, Mike. Very cool. Very cool. All right. So let's have a quick look at the slides. So we are going quickly through a couple of the slides. So conference team. The host today is ARCWARE, and we've just seen two of the faces, Manos and then also Dirk. And then from the ICE side, that's myself, Matt. All right, so just a quick shout out to the ICE.ART community, if you know it, I hope you do. So we have a LinkedIn group, we have a Discord channel, and we have also some other social media accounts. So you will find everything on the ICE.ART website, which also the links are going to be shared. All right.
Yes.
Then the ICE conference has a whole roster of really cool partners. Today, obviously, we're streaming live from the headquarters of ARCWARE here in Munich, Germany. And then there's a bunch of other ICE partners like BenQ, the creators of monitors and all sorts of really cool electronics. The International Game Developers Association, Iqueta Arts, GD Bay, then Ideal Spaces, the Digital Production Magazine, or meanwhile online version also, the World Visual Effects Day, the FMX conference, super famous, also the famous View conference in Turin, Italy, then also the Visual Effects Society, and the MH Tutorials YouTube channel. We just saw Mike is in the audience. Hello, Mike. And then also super famous, obviously, Chaos. So let's move on. Just briefly about the agenda. You guys have seen it online on the website. So there's a bunch of presentations and overviews and so on. And here are the speakers basically. So I would say we just do a very, very brief round of the introductions. So just a couple of seconds for each of the presenters. And I would say we are starting with Madis. Let's bring him alive. And so let's just give us a, 20-second intro.
There is Fabrice, who came in last second. Madis, could you introduce yourself? And now we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we're here. Very good.
Cool. My name is Madis. I am from Estonia, a little country, and I am a founder of AVAR, a 3D studio with 8 years of experience in the pixel streaming realm. So I'm really excited to see what this event brings today.
Sounds awesome. Then after this, we will have Rudi, Witt, and Steffen Schreiber from AccessPoint AI. Rudi or Steffen, who of you wants to introduce the two of you? Yes, there we are. Good.
Yes.
Could you introduce yourselves?
Hi, everyone. Yes. We are Rudi and Steffen, good friends and co-founders of AccessPoint AI, based in southern Germany. And we recently established also a specialized version of our company called VMed, which specializes in medical education.
All right, so then we get to go to our next speaker, which is Fabrice Bourelly. Fabrice, could you quickly introduce yourself?
Yes, hello, Fabrice here. So I'm a 3D visualizer by, architect by training, 3D visualizer by profession, and I am now an Unreal Engine educator. So I'm currently in Venice actually, and I am the course lead for the architectural visualization course in Kent University in the UK, based in the UK. So.
All right. So indeed, we hear multiple audio streams. So I will just quickly repeat what Fabrice said to make sure everyone heard. Fabrice is currently an Unreal Engine educator. That's also what he is today in Venice for. And yes, we are all very excited about his presentation because there's some really good stuff in there.
I will discuss your support.
Yes, please.
Properly, so all good.
Yes. All right. So then we continue with our final presentation for today, which is from Fatih Inan. Fatih, could you introduce yourself and your presentation? Again, we have an audio issue. We can hear you. That I can hear.
Now it should work.
Exactly.
So nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Fatih. I have like over 10-12 years experience in the immersive technology. Unreal Engine is what I do every day, from technology to arts to products and deployment. And I'm definitely going to share a little bit more later, but I'm excited to be here. Thanks.
That sounds fantastic. So then we are going to move to the housekeeping slide from our presentation. So obviously, I think most of you have already found all of this anyway. Thanks, Mike, for saying that the video is crisp. This really helps us out. As you can see in the chat, there's already a conversation going. So whenever the audio drops or something doesn't work, let us know. Also, just let us know anything that you want to know, questions you have, comments you have, start your own discussion, disagree about something, agree again. The more interaction there is, the more interesting this online event is going to be. We will also be posting polls through the event. This is also to help us understand who's in the audience so that we can cater the content to you. Because obviously, if there's a large, if we're all leaning towards architectural visualization, then it makes sense that we focus a bit more on this than just getting stuck on the car configurators, for instance. Mm-hmm. If you are completely new to all things interactive 3D content, then it makes sense that we go a little bit more in depth on the basics so that you are also up to speed and we don't get stuck in the weeds on the really nerdy stuff, which on the one hand, we're all here for it, but at the same time, we also all need to be able to follow it, right? And then, yes, if you have any questions for the panel discussion at the end, please drop those or any questions, actually, because today we have quite a lot of participants. Super happy to see this. 37 people are in here right now. Super excited. So if you have any questions that you really want to have answered, just put them in the questions tab. Everything is on the bottom right side of the screen. I think this is, everyone's found this, very usual stuff. So Yes, that's just the housekeeping for now. And so then I think we can get started with the actual content. So today we're going to be talking about interactive 3D content. So today we will not be focusing on video games specifically, but on a lot of technologies and how to use those outside of video games. So I'm going to go through 4. One of them is not on this specific screen. And I'll explain to you why today we're going to be very much focused on the Unreal Engine. So if I, as a brand or as a company, want to start creating this type of content, then I have a few options. And the most common ones are WebGL, image rendering, which goes by many names, but this is how we've always heard from customers when we talk to them about it. But I'm sure that you might have known this in a different name. Then we have Unity, and we have the Unreal Engine. All of 4 of these have their moments where they are most likely the right choice for you as a company to use this. WebGL is, as you can see on these visuals, not the most amazing looking type of content. However, that doesn't mean it's a bad type of technology. It can be very functional if you have a cheap product that you want to visualize in an e-commerce shop. It could be if it is perfectly fine if it looks cartoony, because all you want is that it's cheap, fast, goes on your website, and for most people it will most likely work. There are some compatibility issues here and there, but it's a technology that's used on many different web shops. It has its disadvantages, but it's a decent thing, a decent technology or a way to create this type of content if you have, if your requirements aren't, if they're very measurable, if I want to put it like this, within measures. Then we have image rendering. This is visually extremely appealing. I don't think it really shows in such a small image. But what we did here, this is actually something that we did here at ARCWARE, where we took thousands and thousands of pictures and then put that onto our servers and rendered it until a 3D model of this specific chair with the footrest in this specific colorway came out. And so visually this is striking from a user perspective, putting this on your website, amazing. The problem is that the production of this can be very costly, because for this specific company they had 20 chairs, 4 to 12 different colors, and then all of those need to be rendered. And so this rendering is extremely cost intensive. And then if you see that there's one small mistake that has been made, what happens is that you get to render the entire model again, which means that it might cost you hundreds of thousands of euros in order to be able to render just your small line of products. And especially if you have furniture and it comes in all sorts of variations, what happens is that then, this is going to break the bank by any standard. So then we have Unity. Unity is a technology that is very commonly used for video games. It has all sorts of things going for it. It has all sorts of assets that you can use. The only problem with Unity is that for the majority of use cases, what happens is that the content is going to be cartoony, if you will. Obviously, it's possible to really work on this and chisel on this as a true artist, but then the amount of time that you will put into it to get to this level of high fidelity graphics might not be worth it for you. And that's exactly where that takes us to the next slide, which is the Unreal Engine. Can we play the video that is on here? Yes, perfect. So this is actually an Unreal Engine application from one of our ARCWARE users. They made this using the Unreal Engine. And what the advantage of this technology is that it is the most lifelike, it produces the most lifelike graphics out of the 4 technologies that I have mentioned so far. It allows you to use an enormous amount of assets from the Unreal Engine marketplace. It is really a way for you to have access to an enormous amount of tools to create stunning material. The only problem that the Unreal Engine, but Unity has this too, is what they have is that the file size that comes with this is enormous. Obviously, this specific motorcycle isn't that big. Nevertheless, when we talk about slightly bigger things like a walkthrough of a villa you very quickly get to 10 gigabytes, if not somewhere up to 25 gigabytes. And as you might understand, that's not something that you quickly download on your mobile phone. So for the use cases where you want to embed these type of applications, what happens is that you need to have a tool to make this accessible on your laptop, on your smartphone, just anything with an internet connection, because obviously you do not want to have someone download this because that's going to take a week if you are on German internet as we are. So obviously people in Lithuania, Poland, Estonia probably don't have the same issue, but then still it takes a few days. So how do you how do you still make everything possible where you have these fantastic graphics, but also it fits on a mobile phone?
Fabrice is online, is connected. We will enjoy him later. So
perfect.
That was why I went out. So I supported the connection, supporting from always, as you know. So
that's not the next slide, but the slide that comes after that. So good. So Matthias. So what is ARCWARE even? Because I'm sure that there are plenty of people of you who signed up through Matthias's newsletter and LinkedIn posts. ARCWARE is a platform that allows you to pixel stream. Pixel streaming is the activity of sharing these Unreal Engine applications through the cloud. So how does this work? We are simply put a platform. Through this platform, you upload your Unreal Engine applications, so the content you made using the Unreal Engine. And then, we obviously scan this for viruses, all the housekeeping stuff, if you will. And then through our servers, we do all of the rendering so that no matter what device you have, as long as it has a stable internet connection, you can access the content. This is anywhere in the world. So this is obviously a platform that you cannot just do yourself. This is not like a video that you just quickly upload and download.
About the regions, maybe you want to tell something.
So obviously another, I wouldn't say a disadvantage, but one of the limitations is that anyone would want to, whenever you want to pixel stream, you want your audience to be relatively close to the servers. And with relatively, I mean if the servers are in Munich, someone being in Palermo is perfectly fine. But if then you are in New Zealand and the servers are only in Munich, then you're going to have a slight latency. For certain things, this is actually still perfectly acceptable. The latency would be, for New Zealand, would be something like 250 milliseconds, I would say.
Yeah, that's an edge case.
But even for some product configurators, that would be perfectly fine because I think most of us are not 250 milliseconds fast with things.
But the highlight here is that you all know that we started, of course, from our main node in Munich, here in Germany, and we can announce that it will be also publicly announced in the next 2 weeks. We already enabled our second kind of region, USA, with our second allocation in Los Angeles, which actually helps on the latency to even Japan and New Zealand, bringing from 280 milliseconds to 110. So that's a highlight of the year. So
absolutely.
An announcement will come.
So super happy to hear this, Michael, that even in the US, without our additional US servers, everything is working just fine. So what I do want to highlight with this, with the regions, is that there are obviously other pixel streaming platforms, and we do one thing significantly different. And we think that therefore we are much better. Obviously, it's up to you to decide if we are. But we have our own servers. Other companies use the servers from Google, we call them hyperscalers. They just use other servers, and what happens is, in those cases, sometimes you get the right servers, the ones that you need, that have the power, that are really made for that type of content, and sometimes you get random servers, which means that the quality fluctuates. So sometimes you have a great experience as an audience member, and sometimes it's absolutely horrific. We therefore focus very much on having our own servers, so we have the right servers that are optimized for this type of activity, so that every stream has the same high quality experience, because we believe that if pixel streaming, so sharing these fantastic graphics on your website or on your mobile app, it needs to be in the highest possible quality, because that's why you chose this technology. And so we want every stream to be of that specific quality. And so this is what we have, why ARCWARE is also here, why today we're focusing on the Unreal Engine. And I would like to move to the next slide so that I can also really explain why Manos was already explaining his support comment from before, because this is a relatively new technology, it's pixel streaming. This is about 2 years old, I would say. I think that's fair.
It started from 2020 beginning, the beta version of plugin in Unreal, but yeah, it's starting to become something the last 2 years, yeah.
Exactly. So, you know, with any technology, you need help. And so the reason why I also know some of the names in the chat and in the attendance here today is because we work very closely with our users to help them really get the benefits of this new technology. And yeah, the only reason that we can actually do this is because we have Manolis here, our co-founder.
Not only me, the whole team, of course.
Of course, but I would say that there's no one in the world who has helped more people package their Unreal Engine applications and then make sure that it also, you know, really fits with pixel streaming, because unfortunately the two aren't identical. There are obviously always small things that happen when you export anything. Anyone who hasn't done it themselves, but perhaps exported a video might know about this from personal experience. So basically how we also differentiate ourselves as a platform is that anyone can sign up to our Discord. In a little bit, I will share the link to this, and you can ask your questions there. Manolis will answer them, regardless of how clever or unclever the question is. We want everyone to be able to take advantage of this technology, so we are there for everyone for free for whenever it's, you know, surface level questions. We also have community support. We have people, perhaps even today in the audience, who actually really who help answer the questions for us. This is exactly what we're looking for, because we think that, you know, only together we can make this technology grow and like really show its power. So if we are all helping each other on Discord, super happy with this. If you're really stuck, create a ticket. Manolis will make sure that he takes the time to solve it. I have not seen a situation where he cannot solve the issue. So I want to invite everyone to create something very difficult so he cannot solve it. So we have a first.
I'm the Unreal side of the things. I'm telling you again, it's the team, because we have then some backend questions, some front-end related questions. So it's a teamwork at the end of the day. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. So I don't want to, talk down on the efforts of the rest of the team. Of course not. But when it really, mostly we deal with issues around the Unreal Engine side of things, and that's obviously Manolis. And then, you know, for when it really becomes, you know, a big ask, if you will, and when we work with larger companies, we host workshops. We can also actually help you build your Unreal Engine applications, or help you with this. You know, take a few hours here and there. Obviously, that is something that brings in costs. We built entire proof of concepts, but as our motto is to bring high quality pixel streaming to everyone, we have a selection of users, some of whom are guest speakers today, who build fantastic things themselves. So we prefer to outsource it to them, actually, because that's something that they specialize in. We specialize in the platform, of course. And so, you know, everyone should be doing what they do best.
That's the scope of this event, actually. Let's hear some magic stories from...
Exactly. So we will have all of these things. And so today we are now already, or mostly me, jabbering for 24 minutes. So after this, we would normally go to Madis. Is anyone in need of a break already? Or is Madis our fire-breathing dragon who wants to start talking? So, Madis.
Great. Can you hear me now?
Yes, perfect.
And can you see my presentation?
Yes. Absolutely.
All right. So yeah, really glad to be here. I don't know exactly how many people we have that are joined with us, but I heard there are many. So good job, ARCWARE team and ICE, for organizing this event. And I'm glad that we are having a conversation, because this is my favorite topic in the world, and I'm especially interested of the afterwards panel, where everyone can ask questions and we can sort of have a discussion of the field here. So yeah, just an intro from my side. AVAR is a 3D studio founded 8 years ago in Estonia by 2 students that were VR fanatics. I was the very first person in my hometown, Viljandi, who had the Oculus Rift VR glasses, and it was wild times. So we wanted to start something, a company in this field. Didn't know exactly what to do. So with my partner, we took a loan and we bought a virtual tour camera, Matterport. I'm sure many of you know the company Matterport. And then over the years, after that, we have done more than 1,000 virtual tours, mainly in Scandinavia, but also in Europe, for real estate companies, for factories, hospitality, and physical showrooms, which is funny because those physical showrooms that exist physically somewhere, they have all these products there. They asked us to come there and take a virtual tour so they can put it online and stream the. I see my screen is lost now. Yeah, here you go. So yeah, those same companies, they wanted to share their physical showroom to everybody in the internet, but they couldn't because there was no way. And that's why we slowly started to shift our focus from virtual tours and VR to Unreal-based 3D solutions, because the same clients from real estate, from product manufacturing, from physical showrooms, they needed interactive 3D content in their web browser, where you have more options than just walking around.
Say something, I'm talking.
So yeah, and these days we are more focused, like last few years we are more focused on Unreal Engine based content. We have worked together with big companies like ABB, Samsung, Jaguar, Sony, many others, and we are creating VR experiences, product configurators, 3D visuals, animations, etc. We have 8 people, a core team of 8 people here in Estonia, but also we have over 10 people as a partner network that help us deliver the projects. Mainly we focus on Europe, but this year also we try to expand in Dubai. So that's about it, about AVAR. But today I'm here by an invitation from ARCWARE to talk about virtual showrooms. And for me, of all the projects we have done over the years, virtual showrooms are my favorite topic. We envisioned virtual showrooms as such long before there was technology to enable it. We were writing on the whiteboard, and we had a vision, and we had clients who wanted something like this, but there wasn't a good solution to offer accessible web browser experiences, because all those experiences we could do, you needed to download the let's say 6 gigabyte file and then run it locally with your powerful GPU, which is it cuts off like 99.9% of the people who could use those showrooms or solutions. So yeah, really glad that ARCWARE invited me here, because ARCWARE and us, we have been working together since the beginning, where ARCWARE was still in beta. With their help and with their exceptional customer support, we have delivered now more than 10 pixel streaming solutions to our clients. And later I have some case studies. The results for our clients have been wonderful, and I really hope that this webinar today also sparks some interest in people to even launch their own 3D agencies and establish this technology, because there's so much you could do here. So what is a virtual showroom? There could be many definitions, but for me, I will propose virtual showroom is a digital space that does exactly what the physical showroom does, but with the reach and intelligence of a digital platform. So what does it mean? The challenge with some sectors, let's say real estate, design products, marine, aviation, automotive, is that you have a product on hand which has many variations. The product, the price starts at, let's say, 5,000 euros. In some cases, it starts in 100K or even more. And you want to sell it to your customer. And on the other end, there is a customer, and they may even want to buy it, but maybe there's a big distance between them. One is from Australia, one is from Estonia. Estonia produces great products, I know that, but in Australia, how do they know that? How do they get the experience of the product? So the only way so far has been entering different markets, creating physical showrooms, or finding resellers that produce those physical showrooms. You need to manufacture the demo products, and then the time and the cost related to creating a physical showroom compared to the digital showroom, they're even not like comparable. So yeah, how can we use this technology to bridge the gap? Some benefits of virtual tours, virtual showrooms, sorry. I see my video is again, you don't see my screen, wait a second. Yep. So virtual showrooms, they're open 24/7 globally. You can reach everyone who has a decent internet connection. You can reach everyone who has any kind of device, mobile device, desktop device, laptop, tablet, whatever. And virtual showrooms have relatively low running costs. And the most important part is that if you have a physical showroom, you don't gather real data about your users, but you can do it with virtual showrooms. I will show you later. So with one of my Estonian clients, a manufacturing company who has our pixel streaming solution, we did a calculation of what a physical showroom would cost them annually versus how much the solution we provided them at first cost them. So if you want to run a physical showroom, you have to pay rent, utilities, you have to hire staff, and then you need to set up the showroom, demo products, furniture, etc. 10K, it's in some cases it's so much more. It's just like to show you. With virtual showrooms and using pixel streaming and those really interactive 3D content in browsers, you can have like upkeep fees 500 to 1,000 euros per month, and the setup fee depends on how many products you have, variations, how good 3D files you already have of your product portfolio, but the setup starts from like 10K. So there's something. Let's go to the interesting part. One client that produces this amazing design, igloo type houses and saunas and offices. We made them a virtual showroom. We put it on their webpage, and we put a lead form before people can access to the showroom. And in the 13-month period, test period with this client, average was that they got 605 unique leads per month through the virtual showroom. Additionally, they got like 400 leads per month additionally to their previous average website lead generation. The average usage time from all the users was 4 minutes, 45 seconds. That we have already we took out the expiration time. Sometimes people just leave it open and go away. We already removed here the expiration time. So this is the real time people averagely use those kind of solutions. Based on the sales team's report, they say there's a 2-time increase in the sales process efficiency, mainly because customers have better product understanding. There's not so much PDF files, pictures, emails, they don't need to communicate that much. And there was really a cool case, like in the first 6 months, where we launched the showroom. A Australian private customer bought 100K worth of these houses without ever seeing them. So that was something for us. That this is actually our very first client to whom we delivered this kind of solution. It was a success, and that's why that's what got me excited about all of that. So what we also built on top of ARCWARE platform is this data gathering platform, where each time a person looks at some product or goes inside it or goes near it, we measure time, and after a while the marketing team can make really good conclusions of what country has the most sessions, for example, or in which country the product model, like the different product models Eaglecraft has, they now know in which countries which product models are the most interesting for people. So that's how they can do marketing decisions, which ad creatives they want to share in those markets, on which products they need to focus on those markets, etc. And also here at the bottom you can see for each showroom user we can show. Let me share my screen again. I don't know why this happens. So for each showroom user, we can show to Eaglecraft the time they spent there and exactly which products they were most engaging with. So Eaglecraft's sales team actually has a tool as a virtual showroom and the data platform. Each morning they can go to office, the salespeople, and they can prioritize which leads they need to call, and they already know what products they are interested of. And if they would like, they can also see the details and see everything they did in the showroom. So I think that's really interesting. Another client we had, similar use case, was this modular saunas, but they also deliver it indoors. Their business model is a bit different because they use resellers. And from 2.5 years of collaboration with this company, we know that resellers from 10+ countries are using this tool weekly in client meetings, and they report increase in sales conversion after this kind of solution came on their hands. Because in physical showroom, you cannot show the whole product portfolio, but with this kind of tool, you can do it. You can have each product variation here, and also the marketing data. They know exactly which ad visuals to target to which markets. You have a few examples, total session length by country. They can see in which countries there's most interest to their products. They can see the top products. Yeah. So, and we also did interviews with 30 end users from different virtual showroom clients, and based on what they say, why they use the solutions and why they value that, is that most of the time it's emotional confirmation. They already want the product, and they use the virtual showroom in the evening. They're on a sofa, they're thinking about, should I buy this or not? And they go to showroom. Once again, we saw in data that people were always coming back in a week frame. They were they went in the showroom, then 2 days passed, they went again, and then they made a buying decision, and we asked them, why did you do it? And it was like, I don't know, I was just emotional, I just wanted to like play around with that. So there's like this playful element in these virtual showrooms, and game engine based 3D interactive solutions that like confirm people, they help people make decisions. Dirk also mentioned it before, but if you have like really complex products which has many different variations, then it's actually not possible in physical showroom to showcase that product in all those variations, because you can build only one product in, let's say, car showroom. You can have like one model, but you cannot have all the variations with all the different configuration options there. So virtual showroom or product configurator 3D interactive solution, it's actually the only way to make complex products simple for end users. Product understanding, it comes faster, and also end users were saying that it was a wow experience for them. It was something that they remembered and told to others. So I don't have more case studies right now because there's a time limit. Afterwards, we can have a conversation. I can show some more. You can ask questions. We have many more demos. But just a little bit about like future trends. What I see is that major corporations right now, Apple, Samsung, Google, they're investing billions in mixed reality and like augmented reality technology. So a lot of the future web browsing experience will be spatial. People will have classes like those, but these act like web browsers, so you can like browse. And if you want, you can switch to 3D experience with the same classes. But if you want, you can just be in the reality and you have layers on top of that. So I think that everything moves towards the spatial web experiences and also like streaming. Soon, generated 3D will take effect. We already see it in AI that a lot of the, let me share my screen again. We already see it in software development. You just write some prompts, and in front of you, you see a web page appearing. AI just writes code for you. Soon, the same thing will happen in 3D. Companies, marketing people, even usual people can just use prompts to create their own 3D experiences, 3D worlds, and we can visit them as persons, as companies. There will be many use cases. Some of them are meant for selling, some of them are meant for communication, some of them are meant for entertainment, but I see this is the way. There are some bottlenecks today, like most of the VR headsets today, they look like this, not very attractive, but the end goal is that they should look like this. And I see that maybe it's a conversation idea for later, but I see that pixel streaming is something that will also move to those classes, because you cannot have such computing power to have a great experience just physically in these classes without pixel streaming. So I think like internet infrastructure and compression algorithms and etc. AI, this will go there, that soon we are streaming everything with our classes. So yeah, I'm excited about the future of pixel streaming. And ARCWARE has been really helpful in terms of help from their customer support team. Each time we have had some problems with, let's say, optimization or how to set up some customer experience, even the founders have been in call with us and helped us. So yeah, this was my presentation, and if you would like, then you can contact me now or later. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much for that, Madis. We actually are getting a fantastic amount of questions already, and I am very happy to see the chat livening up. So let's just first start with the questions, because obviously there have also been topics that we can answer a little bit more from the ARCWARE side. But Madis, my first question from the audience is, did you need to train, or did the company, your client, did they need to train the sales force to be able to deal with these type of 3D content?
I wouldn't say that there was training needed, but from our side, there was a really huge learning curve how to deliver a good user experience with pixel streaming solutions. So when we started, there wasn't a lot of inspiration. What?
No, it's all good. Manolis has opinions, and so please just keep going.
Okay, so we didn't have a lot of inspiration of what to do, so we just published something. We did UX research, and then after a while, the goal should be that we deliver a solution that doesn't need training, like a web browser, let's say web page. People shouldn't have training to use web page, so it should be the same with those 3D interactive solutions. So I would like to take responsibility here as a company to create a good user experience, so people don't need to learn anything, and it's really a safe environment where you are used to all the details there are.
Then another follow-up on the IgluCraft use case that you mentioned. You mentioned that the 3D application was hidden behind a form field. So people had to give their email address for them to be able to access the content. And then obviously your client contacted the people through the email address. So would it also be possible to do something similar, whether it is for IgluCraft or anyone else, that it would also lead to an actual checkout process?
Yes, and the initial delivery for IgluCraft was a solution without an option to send an inquiry. Today, you can go to IgluCraft solution and you can directly send an inquiry from the showroom. There is no technical barrier to also put a payment provider there and take a payment and sell the product right away. So far, we haven't had a client who would want something like that, but there's no technical barrier.
I want to ask if there are any more questions for Madis. Please ask them in the chat or in the question section. But we have one question already from Matthias.
Yeah. Thanks, Madis, for the presentation. Very, very cool stuff. So I got a quick question, because I always have questions. So of the implementation which you have currently, or which is live for all of your clients, let's say how many % of the technical implementation of the solution which is live did you have to develop yourself, versus what's the kind of, or so the implementation time versus what's the aspect of the ARCWARE, let's say, API or solution that's just basically the off the shelf? Or is there something where you see let's say some of the development which you are let's say the technical development you wish were potentially on the ARCWARE platform side already?
Yeah, in the early days there were fewer options, but today ARCWARE has a really great documentation and templates and everything to really set up the projects as fast as possible and easily. From our side, we started off at really early stage time of that business opportunity. I will say we had a lot of mistakes we had to do and a lot of learning curves. And also here in Estonia, we wanted to hire an in-house Unreal Engine developer, not like a freelancer from another country. We wanted to have a conversation in real life. So it was really difficult to find one who could do it at that time. So we took a student, and there was like a lot of stuff to learn to deliver those solutions. But finally we did it, and these days it's so much easier. Today we deliver those solutions in I would say 20% of the time we did it at first.
That's super impressive. I mean, I just have if you have a time for another quick follow-up question, because I'm curious about this, and maybe we will hear a little bit more in other presentations. But so for me as an outsider of the technology, just learning about it, can you give a little bit of just a short introduction of, if you have an Unreal scene and you want, let's say, your client to have certain camera controls, or let's say certain, like a bounding volume of where you want the clients to go or to teleport to, or what they can click and how many degrees they can rotate things. Can you explain a little bit on how you would set this up, and if this is something that you would develop on the Unreal side in general, or if that's part of the ARCWARE platform? Just the general navigation and user experience, so the UX development side of things.
It depends on the solution. These days we always use web user interfaces. So it's a more seamless user experience for end customer if they see like web user interface and elements from the habitual stuff. Everything else, the interactions, the moving camera locations, 3D part, everything is in Unreal Engine. We don't use any other softwares today at all. We just use Unreal Engine and some web development on top of that, and that's how we deliver our solutions.
That actually takes me
technically just one thing to your question, to constrain whatever you want to do, rotation or orbit, whatever, this always happens in Unreal. So you set the limits of the experience on whatever camera path or rotation. This happens all in Unreal.
Can you explain?
Yeah.
Can you explain the link of, let's say I have some sort of camera rig that allows me how to translate the camera, or let's say how to move around the scene, how this is then kind of translated to drive the camera actually that is rendered? Kind of what is the link between the mouse movement in the web and getting the pixels back?
Yeah, the input itself is directly, I mean, the same input you will have in a standalone application. That's then the Web SDK, or our Web SDK is already based on Epic Games pixel streaming infrastructure. That means we support mouse input, keyboard input, touch input, controller input, even VR lately. Of course, experimental. Latency is the killer there. But yeah, the same experience you will have in standalone application, you will have through a web browser in the same input. But the functionality of, limiting or capping some angles, making the experience more linear, this is all done in Unreal. That's it. You prepare all in Unreal.
I just want to say one more thing. Really great job, ICE, for organizing this event, all this camera setup, everything. These guys, I know Manolis and Turk from before, and usually they don't look as handsome as right now.
We still have some questions from the audience, and I love that we do, because that's what we're here for. So Kevin asked some questions on how it's more like client management, and some also it kind of relates to the question that Matthias already asked. So when you talk with your customer, specifically, let's take Igloo Craft as an example, because obviously you've done many more customers. So what do they need to give you in terms of input for them to get that type of output? Because obviously if they just say like, hey, just give us 4 kilograms of 3D, then obviously that's not enough. And how long does it take for you to create such a project? So like you explain us what they need to give you to get started. You get started. When does the audience see it?
Yeah, in our experience, clients usually have a limited understanding of what can be done. So we need to inspire them. That's why we always start up with a workshop where we, together with the client, we try to understand their values as a brand. We try to understand how huge is their product portfolio, what are the really important things they need to showcase. Sometimes it's you have many products, but there's like 20 you need to showcase in a virtual showroom, but you want to do it really well, as interactive as possible, as realistic as possible, as good user experience as possible. So usually we try to get to the point where we have enough input to offer client an all-inclusive solution without them having to be like operationally involved too much, because they have other things to do. We try to offer them all-inclusive. But usually our clients so far, most of them have had their own 3D files, 3D models of their products already from the manufacturing side. Sometimes we have done like photogrammetry to get it as realistic as possible. So it's always case by case, but usually the first thing is to understand the client. Second thing is to understand what they already have in terms of like 3D files and input, and if they have their own vision or not, and then offering them something that like hits their targets.
The last thing I think for today with Madis, because we're also stealing time away from our other fantastic guests, is the question from Lucas before, who asked about using this online or interactive 3D content for online trainings for salespeople, whichever type of department. And I feel, Madis, would it be unfair if I would take that away from you and answer that from ARCWARE's perspective?
Do it.
That's fine if I answer this one, or is this more your, or do you, because you haven't had a lot of clients who did this, right?
Yep.
So then I am just going to answer this question for you, Lucas, because, oh, sorry, was it Mike's question? Sorry, Lucas, then I will find your question in a bit again. So for the online training, what we see, because we have several hundred users already who are streaming many different projects for their clients, what we see is that online training is a big aspect of this field, simply because they're just, as also apparent in Madis's presentation, there's just so much that you cannot always move physically yourself. And so we've had training content from oil companies who, they need to train that safety on the rig. And it's just so much easier to train that at home than flying people from all over the world to a specific rig, because, all rigs aren't exactly easily accessible for very good reason. And so being able to train that at home, even on your phone, if you'd want to, is obviously a fantastic improvement, saves massively costs.
Even simulating some, let's say, catastrophe scenarios,
exactly,
which is impossible to even simulate in some cases.
Exactly, because what you would also really want to have is you want to like really hammer down a point. And how can you do that better than actually having that same jump scare moment when you supposedly had to turn something, or you didn't connect something and now you fell off the oil field, oil rig. That's exactly what you want to simulate, because from mistakes, that's how we learn.
Yeah.
And so, that's perfect. We've also seen it for people who sell things and then later use this content to actually train the people to use it. And so again, you know, if your client's on the other side of the world and you need to train it, you can of course use a Teams call, but having them actually do it themselves is a lot, you know, that's how you really learn, because you almost even start building muscle memory. So we definitely see a lot of this happening. And if any of you are a company who would like to get started with this, and of course, this is the guy to ask questions, or Madis, or Fatih, Rudi, Steffen, or Fabrice. But yes, I hope that answered the question. And I'm now quickly looking for Lucas's question, who I otherwise, yes, thank you. I found it, Lucas. How do you handle large amounts of data, like hundreds of possible configurations? We are looking into how to handle lots of cut models, but the file size is getting out of hand.
I think I can answer this question.
I think that is a fantastic place to...
And then we continue with the next one.
Yeah, I think that's a good one.
Yeah. So how you do that is, we had, of course, exactly these cases. Projects that might contain, if you go to the classic way, a lot of whatever, buildings, and too much. It's just too much data. You can kind of handle the start time of the application, but then loading every scene, it's just might be crazy. So how you do it? We already have an asset management. It's on beta, and kind of the fundamental thing on making something scalable, having, let's say, 1,000 buildings with even one project. You don't even more projects. It's just going to asynchronously loading assets on runtime. And that can be done with many methods. Now, lately, the hype is also on the USD-Z format. The problem there is that you cannot bring actual functionalities. Like, it brings almost everything, even animations and stuff, but not code. So the best method to do that, if you want to even bring complete level scenes with the whole functionality, is the classic patching DLC method from Epic Games, APK format. So that's how you do it. That means you can have one application in the short, like, and then in the asset management, let's say 100 buildings, and then you have a front end on the other side. By going to a particular web page, it calls, let's say, the building A, and the building A is asynchronously loaded, and the client takes what he needs. That means you have a super lightweight master application which starts fast, and then it loads, chain loads everything on runtime. This can be done, of course, through, again, hyperscalers, AVS and stuff. The drawback there is by every call you pay. We also developed something, we call it asset management. It's a beta service on our end. You can find it in the documentation. If you need access, we can give. It's 2-week trial, and then you go with the flow. And yeah, that's it. The win in our side is that you have a 10 gigabit connection in the kind of LAN, because you are in the data center, you are in the GPU cluster near. So, and it's even using another network interface. That means you never interfere your, streaming channel, and that's super fast. And yeah, that's it. That's the way to scale, even thousands, 10,000s, it doesn't matter. It's just a repository.
Very good. So, Luca, everyone's questions is answered. Then I think it is time to either ask for a break or to continue with Rudi and Steffen. So if there's anyone who needs a bio break, refill their cup of tea, Coke, beer, whatever it is that you have, let us know, because then we wait. Otherwise, we will march on, because we have a lot of content to go through, which I think is definitely worth staying for. But we also understand that everyone has their limits. Switch.
I guess, we have from Fabrice, we can see, let's go. Yeah.
We are going to be, we're going to move up Fabrice because of time restraints.
Yes.
So Fabrice, would you like to take the floor? That is...
Fabrice, unmute yourself on the Livestorm side, please. And that's all fine.
So, can we hear you?
How's that? Can you hear me?
Yeah, fantastic.
There you go.
All right.
Cool. Okay. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm
No
right
problem.
in Venice, and I've got tons of things scheduled. So sorry to kind of be jumping in like this. And really great presentation from Madis. It's very impressive to see this. So I'm going to start my presentation. And it's very different. It's the presentation that I sort of give to my students, and most of these things you'll know already, but hopefully it's going to give you a little trip down memory lane and put all of this in context. So it's really about real time, and so a lot more about on the Unreal side of things, and yeah, exactly how real time is going to how gaming technology is effectively changing the world, because in my world is the world of architecture, and I've been a qualified architect since 1996, an Unreal Educator since 2016. As soon as the Unreal Engine became available to the wider public, I jumped on it because I was sick of waiting for renders, and I became an interactive real-time consultant at my last company I worked with, at Cityscape. And obviously also before that, I've been a visualizer since 1996, 3ds Max version 1, for those of you who use that software. So it takes us way back into last millennium, but I was very lucky to work with Epic Games during the when effectively Unreal moved from gaming only to being applied to many other verticals. So I worked for a long time with Heatherwick Studio, with Google as well, with Bentley Motors when we created redesigned all their sales rooms, actually, which was unfortunately before Epic came out, so Unreal came out, and before ARCWARE was on the scene. So, but I'm sure Bentley will be very interested to hear about all of this as well. So that's a little bit about me. I've got a YouTube channel where I started to post tutorials about Unreal Engine, just to kind of sharing as I was learning, and I think that's also how I became came to know Madis. I've got a website where I sell sort of courses, and again where I help people onboard the technology. Just a few visuals where really that's where it became for me. Well, obviously, I'll talk about this before, a little bit after, but where the quality of the video game technology became enough so that we could compete in some way with the established visuals, which was usual CGI renders and so on. So, really, what drove me to this technology is those two things, right? The real time and the interactive, which are both related. But what is real time? Real time is immediate feedback. It's in contrast with having to render, to wait for many hours for a CGI, and also it's interactive, so it's based on the gaming technology. It's this feedback, and then being able to act on something which is going to react immediately. And what is that? So the other benefits of using this technology today is that we can print huge images which are rendered at very high quality. It's obviously compatible because that's what Epic Games is dedicated to, being compatible with all the hardware and software. Well, mainly the hardware is actually, things like Nintendo Switch, PlayStations, but also those VR headsets and anything in the future. So this is something that Epic is dedicated to, and we don't have to, worry too much about this compatibility like we did so much in the past. It's based on collaboration, because it's based on creating video games with huge teams spread across the world. So collaboration is really at the core of the technology. And it's also future-proof in the sense that Epic is putting huge amounts of their own money, because it's their software, into the technology. And then at the time it was free. That's changed a little bit, but we can still download it and use it. So interactive real time, if my video plays, well, I'll tell the sound off actually. interactive real time is the real world. So this is Norman Foster, Britain's most famous architect, possibly, and he's drawing. He's drawing a line, and this is the most basic kind of piece of technology. But this is interactive real time. So what do? We're actually trying to go back to what we were originally, right? The real world. So, and this is what I, as an artist or an architect, was always striving to do, to go back to this idea of being able to use my body, use my hands, and exactly like here we've got Frank Gehry, possibly America's highest, probably most paid architect, one of probably most paid architects in the world, and they are still designing with cardboard. This is how they design, and they collaborate. There's two guys, and here I love it how he doesn't like it. He throws it away, and they get really upset. So this is what we're trying to get back to. We're humans, and we're physical, and I think that's always what we're trying to do. So this technology, real time, this is Unreal Engine. This is Unreal Tournament playing on a Windows 95 machine. So this is kind of taking me back to the early days. And was always real time, but it wasn't looking so great, right? We had really basic textures. The characters looked pretty awful. Everything was extremely low poly. This actually looked really good at the time, but it's not something that we could use for a product presentation or marketing for real estate or anything like that, especially compared to the quality of the CGIs. But it worked, and it enabled us to move forward to today, where effectively Fortnite at Epic Games, in fact, Fortnite came to existence while I was working for Epic Games. So when I started with Epic Games, we'd had no Fortnite, and I tell you, things were pretty tense because money was a problem, because it's really up and down in the game world. And then Fortnite came out, and it just completely changed everything. Not only the technology that we have, probably including some of the pixel streaming's capacity that Unreal proposes, but huge amounts of innovation, both in terms of under the hood, but also visual technique, like global illumination with Lumen, but also nanite. So we have billions of polygons and so on, and also the visual quality that you can see here. And that brings us to kind of the idea of real-time photorealism, and that kind of brings the whole movie industry into this. And this is obviously Toy Story 1, the beginning of CG movies. I think possibly the first CG movie, and it's quite interesting to see that here they used toys to as a subject of the movie, and because, well, that's what we could render pretty well, like plastic. Plastic looked really good, and you can see how here the toys look fairly realistic. If you look at the arm here of the robot, it's pretty realistic, but the wood at the back is awful, and the lamp looks terrible. So really, the CG that was the beginning of CGI, and we kind of embarked on this new world of creating movies with 3D. Absolutely not real time in those days, but the quality kept improving, and now we've got obviously the Matrix, which for me was really the first time when I came out of the movie theater and I thought, okay, this was real. I got completely taken into, but the technology was being invented here, and we've got this green screen technology, and where there were this very famous bullet sequence, which in fact linked very closely Epic Games and the Matrix, because the guy who was in charge of all these visual effects for the Matrix is now the chief technology officer of Epic Games. So Epic, during my time at Epic, I'll play this little movie. I'll actually turn off the sound just to sort of save time. I'll speak over it. I'm sure most of you have seen this movie. I'll invite you to go and see it. It's called Rebirth. You can find it on YouTube. It was by Quixel, but this is the project that I commissioned while I was at Epic. this was an epic adventure, as you can imagine. But it was a movie which was supposed to be a trailer for a potential story, which we invented completely from scratch. But the brief was to create photorealistic content in Unreal Engine, and there were kind of no constraints other than using the assets that Quixel were scanning and creating this huge library with, and so we were able to, well, they were able, the incredible team of artists were able to create this fantastic movie, which I think still is up there in the kind of the demos of Epic to date, in terms of, you know, the intensity and but also the visual quality that they were able to achieve. And this is not even in ray tracing, by the way. This was Unreal Engine 4.26. So we didn't have nanite, we didn't have ray tracing, so it was still a very a great feat for the team to be able to do that. But for me, it really represents the turning point when we go from the gaming technology that looks like a game to literally competing with movies. So that's our little movie here by Quixel. I'll move on to the next. So just kind of moving on in time here, we've got the following demo. The following year, Epic created this amazing, incredible demo of a city that looks like New York. Endless, you can roam around everywhere, and again, photorealism is key. There's little pebbles on the floor. There's characters on the street. They're walking, that you can talk to them. All the traffic lights are working. The cars are stopping. It's just incredible. When the cars stop, the pedestrians cross the road. So really, this kind of simulation, realism, and visual quality is really reached a point where now this is it. This technology is here and competing with movies, with CGIs, with everything else. So moving on even to the following year, this is the again using Quixel assets, using all the latest, nanite technology and things like that. We're not only able to achieve the same photorealism, but now in nature. So just absolutely humongous amounts of geometry and data, which is just absolutely breathtaking. And still, to this day, I'm not sure any other kind of software today can pretend to be able to handle so much stuff and with so much ease. And especially that visual quality, which is always what Unreal is known for. So moving on here, now this is not an Unreal generated piece of content. This is a CGI, but this is what my last company I was working with. We worked for real estate firms and for marketing. So we're typically creating interactive content here. So this is a very basic kind of fly through in a pretty grotty part of London and around London Bridge. And then we've got this kind of piece of real estate here. And this was a very unglamorous, not for marketing. This was for a planning application, extremely high value in the client's eyes, because it helps to get authorization for the building and to be able to place it in context. This particular example here, we needed to add 2 floors to the building to make it viable economically, and it worked. The building got planning, and the building's now being built on site after many years of delay because of some of these issues. Sorry, I didn't meant to go take out my screen here. And then just finally here, I think it was one of the first possible demos that we used ARCWARE for. And this is again an enormous site with several buildings, and then you'll see that some of these buildings have fully furnished inside. So here we've got kind of a in-house built user interface that allows us to go through each floor. And as you can see, the buildings are populated. So an absolutely mind-boggling amounts of data is being put in here. And I've got to say, work seamlessly as we when we upload that onto the ARCWARE platform, because it's able to ARCWARE is able to run effectively the program exactly as we have it here. So whether it runs locally or on the web, it's going to be exactly the same. But this is a solution that would be otherwise very, very difficult to deliver to a client, because we'd have to literally deliver a PC to them in their marketing suite with the whole kind of technical support that comes onto it. You can just hear from my voice how painful that sounds, because I've done it, and I literally had to deliver PCs to clients, which was not the kind of thing that I had in mind for my work. So yeah, so this is it. This is my little presentation here. Sorry to kind of be jumping ahead, but I'm not in my usual desk, effectively, here in the middle of Venice, and that's why I'm a bit shiny, because it's absolutely boiling hot. And I was in this room with 20 students who are doing incredible work in Unreal, but that means we had 20 heaters full on at the same time as our as the heat coming from the city. I don't know if any of this came through.
Yeah.
So basically, Fabrice, I just want to say your mic was off the entire time.
No, joking.
No, of course, no, of course. I am teasing. But Fabrice, before you repeat it, I just want to say that you made Manolis's month, if not year. You brought him down memory lane, like all the moments where he fell in love with the Unreal Engine.
He knows.
So
I knew you would. Windows 95. I thought about you on that one.
That was definitely Manolis. I think you heard it through the mute button there. And then Matthias on my right, he was fanning out when you were showing the screen, which is also still Unreal Engine 4, if I'm correct. With the, which one was it?
It's just legendary content.
What was the name of the technology you mentioned? The one with the fantastic how the water reflects on the wall with the yellow light.
The caustics, yeah. The caustics in one of the project, it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Barcelona pavilion, kind of with the symmetry and the marble in the background. So I just mentioned briefly before to Manolis that it would be amazing to re-render this scene with real-time caustics. They look fantastic.
That means we need to go to the NVRTX branch, because the guys have real-time caustics already. I mean, there is the Unreal branch. If someone doesn't know, it's publicly from even 4.27 and now 5.4, I think.
So then, Fabrice, how much longer do you have? Because first of all, Matthias has so many questions, we could be here all night. But even if we render them down,
far away. If I go before 8:45, that would be perfect.
All right, good. So then, I also just want to remind everyone in the audience that we are opening up for questions now for Fabrice. So then, as Matthias is also, his background is also in architecture. I am just giving him the microphone again. So, please take it away.
Yeah. So I mainly have two questions, which I'm just curious about your opinion on the topic while we're waiting for more questions to come in. So when distinguishing between using Unreal for visualizations or experiences, or making, let's say, architecture or creating an architectural experience, when using that versus comparing it to using Twinmotion, how do you distinguish between the two?
Okay, thank you. Sorry, guys, I have to go.
No problem.
So
No
let's
problem,
just
Fabrice.
answer this question and then I have to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Sorry.
So let's finish the question.
That was basically
That
it.
was
So,
the question.
kind of what?
Yeah,
what's-
sorry, I'm sorry. Somebody was telling me to go, so I didn't hear the
All
end
right,
of your
repeat
question.
the question.
All right, I'll just repeat it. No worries. So when for you that has been a professional in the field and knows the technology so well, how would you at the moment for your projects, or what would you be your advice to choose for an architectural experience? Would you use rather Unreal Engine or Twinmotion, or how would you, let's say, decide between the different tools?
Yeah, it's a hard one for me because I would not use Twinmotion because I want to be perceived as a professional, and in that sense, I want to be able to expand infinitely the level of service that I could provide to my client, and so that drives us directly to Unreal Engine. Twinmotion doesn't allow, for example, full customization, blueprints. Currently, it doesn't allow, for example, being able to use Perforce to collaborate as a large team. I've had big problems in the past inheriting Twinmotion projects to move them onto Unreal Engine. So for me personally, I would not go down the Twinmotion path because it is the same technology, right? The Twinmotion is made by Unreal Engine, so it's a sub-product of Unreal Engine, and the value of Twinmotion is in the assets, really, because although there's many functionalities that are incredible in Twinmotion, but the assets are really being delivered with inside of Twinmotion and things like materials and so on. So because I've been using Unreal at the beginnings in 2016 when it sort of came out to the general public, Twinmotion was sort of really behind Unreal in terms of innovation. So I'm not sure today they've completely redeveloped Twinmotion from the ground up. So that's not probably true today. The Twinmotion's maybe a little bit behind Unreal in terms of features, but now it has all the main features, especially things like Lumen and Nanite and the high-end materials and so on. So it is a really tough one because Twinmotion has been particularly crafted for the architecture industry, and there's a very specific link for Revit, for example. So there's a live link with Revit. So it is a really tough one. For me, like as I said, because I want to be perceived as a professional, I would go straight to Unreal Engine as a professional visualizer. Twinmotion is really aimed in terms of a market segment as architects who want to produce visuals, not as visualizers who want to produce professional visualization, if you know what I mean. Does that make some sense?
You're going more in the direction of you want to not be, let's say, constrained just to visualization, but you are more enjoying the openness of Unreal as a framework to add in more types of content, more types of storytelling and so on. So it's more, Twinmotion is probably more, let's say, domain specific in the sense built for a specific purpose, while you personally would use it more as a general purpose, let's say, platform, quote unquote, for all types of storytelling and architectural creating experiences. All right. But
exactly.
If we still have the time, I would go into my second question, just very briefly, because
as long as they don't throw me out.
It's an important question. They cannot kick you out. Yeah. So you showed the video snippets before. I believe they were with Frank Gehry, right? So the physical. You mentioned in your presentation that you would love to go back to basically the experience of the physical, handcrafted modeling, kind of almost in a digital clay sense, and then like adding or gluing on pieces, throwing some pieces away, like we've seen in the video. So how do you see personally a regenesis of this process, but in a digital realm? So if you look at the latest, let's say NVIDIA Cosmos developments, for example, where they are starting to add in physical, quote unquote, or AI, like let's say this platform for AI generated content plus, but also a physical simulation for robotics and moving parts and simulating pieces or mechanical things, and cloth simulation and all of those aspects. Which of those aspects would you like to see being added in the architectural, not the experience of the visualization, but of the crafting of the
Design.
process of the design, which then later on you can visualize? Which of those, let's say, aspects would you like to see being kind of quote unquote reinvented?
So I've thought long and hard about this. The answer is very simple. Look at the game industry. The architecture is an experiential thing. You know, it's like a sculpture inside out. So when you describe modeling with clay, you're outside looking at the object. In architecture, we're inside the space and we experience it's in motion, right? It's not just a static visual from one point taken at one time of the day, the year, you know, with one particular angle of the sun. It's obviously, as we know, because we're humans, is something we get up in the morning, you go out, you open the door, you go downstairs, you come out on the street, you go up and inside a building, and then it's night and everything's changing all the time, and as we're moving through. So the experience of going through is something that gamers do all the time. And so when we create a video game, it's it's all inside of the Unreal platform. You can create blocks, and you know you've got stairs, and you're moving through, and the experience is always eye level, unless it's a top down, in which it's top down. But if it's a first person shooter, everything is always created at eye level, and to me, that's the inspiration. And that's why it's very, very interesting how the virtual world, because when we talk about virtual reality, we imagine sort of, you know, virtual showrooms, virtual chat rooms, whatever virtual, you know, like Meta tried to do, this kind of awful, you know, thing where nobody was and nobody used. But video games are there. People are using video games, and this design process is already existing while we create video games. So what I'm really interested is to using the technology, the techniques, and the workflows that are currently done to create these amazing virtual worlds, which are video games with millions of users every day, and using some of that, some of these workflows to create architecture to simulate the real world, and to think of new urban solutions to I don't know, new urban centers, new building types, new ways of using, because we can simulate them, we can try them out, and then just to finish on that point, one of the things that is absolutely essential to the video game world is reusing assets. You know, it's instancing in the kind of 3D jargon, but in the real world, that means manufacturing modular elements into the factory, and then, you know, or manufacturing on site, and then assembling buildings made out of made components. The smallest one being a brick or a block of concrete, but then you can have, you know, panel facades and things like that. So I think we're really going to maybe benefit from seeing how the video game world uses this technology.
Right, guys.
Rudi and Steffen, take it away.
Yes.
It's okay. Let's see. Maybe a configuration of setup. Hello.
Yes, there we are.
There we are.
Can you hear me?
Yes. Yes. Hello, guys.
Hi. Is the presentation on?
Yes. Now, yes.
Okay.
Now let's go.
Yes, thank you for the invitation, everyone. As I said before, Steffen and I were a team of two, and we started this project. What we do is basically quite simple in the concept, but quite impactful in the result. We combine two technologies. One is 3D rendering and the other one is artificial intelligence, or to be more specific, we create digital humans and we let them speak. Why do we do that? Because conversation or confidence in conversation is critical, not only in our personal lives, but also in professional lives. If you're a professional worker in healthcare or whatever, you have to have confidence in your skills and to lead effective communication and conversation. Like imagine having a difficult conversation with a coworker or an employee where you have to diffuse a situation and resolve a conflict, for example, or you deal with someone who has mental health issues or suffers from gambling addiction or whatever. It's very hard to know what to say and how to say it if you're not trained. The same goes for situations where your, let's say, personal stakes are involved, right? Like career conversations with your superiors or a job interview, negotiation situations, whether it's a selling scenario or convincing your teenage daughter to clean up her room. And what we kind of observed, a very critical field is patient conversations. So for healthcare professionals, doctors, asking the wrong questions, or let's rather say not asking the right questions, can very easily lead to false diagnosis and mistreatment. There was a study in 23 US-wide where they found that almost 1 million Americans suffer from negative consequences and even death because of misdiagnosis. So how do you train the skills? It's practice, 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 right? In addition, just as a quick side note, with all the AI advancement and technology and automation, there are many predictions saying that especially entry-level jobs and previously high-valued skills like computer science are becoming more and more obsolete. So people are asking, so what skills will be impactful or important in the future? And there have been a few studies from the World Economic Forum and McKinsey and others, and all of them agree that communication skills, emotional intelligence, and critical thinking will be among the top skills in the job market of the future. So the question people asked, so how do I acquire these skills, right? Or from the other end, for businesses and universities or schools, how do we actually teach these skills, right? And there is a mismatch of, let's say, theory and actual practice. So there are a few obstacles typically encountered, right? One is when you learn in a classroom situation, you are confronted with theoretical concepts, and even if you have the possibility to practice a little bit during the course, it's never enough to achieve this kind of muscle memory, right? So learners typically struggle to turn classroom knowledge into real dialogue skills. And that is also connected to cost and scale issues. Like, for example, in hospitals or medical schools, there is this concept of the standardized patients. So it's actually human actors who are invited to come, and typically pensioners or unemployed people who take the opportunity to earn a little bit of money, and they then just play a role like a patient. But it's expensive, so typically medical students get the opportunity 2 or 3 times to do that in the course of the studies, and that's of course not even close to enough to train this. And the other thing is, when you practice communication skills, it usually goes without feedback, except if you have a professional coach. who gives you feedback. You resort to asking people, and depending on who you ask, you get all different kinds of feedback. So it rather increases uncertainty than boosts your confidence in your conversation skills. So if practice is important, we then told ourselves, why not use digital humans? I mean, we all know about Epic's metahuman technology. It's really the industry's top-of-the-line digital human solution nowadays, used in YouTube productions, film production, AAA games, and much more. And those digital humans are extremely fine-tuned, right? So not only the hyper-realistic visuals, like skin textures, wrinkles, pores, you can really go close up. Even skin coloration, when you squint your eyes, certain areas of the face become more reddish. All this is already included, plus the opportunity for, of course, digital artists to customize it at will. Right? For example, for digital patients, we can simulate certain swellings of the body, or rashes, or whatever necessary. And they support full motion capture, like with hundreds of morph targets and precise control and animation. You can really have expressions in the face. With the latest installment of Unreal Engine 5.6, there was even yet another one leap forward in the realism of those digital humans. So the visual side is covered, right? So, but then the question is, how do we make them intelligent? So what we need is to get away from the, let's say, typical film production pipeline where you have scripted visuals and renders to a real-time conversation. So we need to plug those metahumans into a conversation engine. And luckily, we have something like that since a few years back. LLMs became so powerful. For us, the mission was obvious. We need to bring our metahumans to life and give them a brain and a voice, so to speak. So powering them by large language models, we can really create real-time and authentic and believable conversation scenarios. They can speak, they can listen, they can role-play any task or any role you assign to them, and play it all in real time. And how we did that, and how we were able to bring this visual communication interface to any end-user device with ARCWARE's pixel streaming technology, that's something that Steffen will talk about.
Yeah, thanks, Rudi. So how did we achieve this mission? Let me quickly walk you through the phases of a conversation. So first of all, the user speaks. The speech is then captured in the browser and sent to our speech-to-text service. And this service transcribes the spoken text into written text in real time. And the text is enriched with scenario context and extra knowledge that we feed into the large language model. And then the text gets to the large language model, so to say, the heart of our and this then generates a response in natural language. This response is then returned and turned into audio by our text-to-speech service, complete with proper tone and pacing. And finally, the audio and the corresponding animation data is fed into Unreal Engine, where we create the stunning visuals and create the metahumans that actually speak to you. And this whole process happens in real time. Now, this was the idea, but how can we make this setup actually usable? In order to achieve this, we had to overcome 3 challenges. The first one, business needs change very quickly. So new scenarios for AI usage appear, new AI models are released. So we needed to create a system that is flexible and where components can be switched easily and quickly. So we have speech-to-text, the large language model, text-to-speech, vision capabilities, conversation context. And each of this needs to be changed within minutes, preferably, and not within weeks. The second challenge that we faced was that users do have their electronic devices with them all the time. Every one of us carries a smartphone, a very capable computer with them. But running Unreal Engine on the phone is not really an option. So we needed to make the application more accessible. And what is the feature that basically all electronic communication devices have in common? an internet browser of some kind. So we needed to make the experience accessible via standard browsers. And the third point was scalability. The system shall be able to handle potentially hundreds of users, but in times of low requests, we don't want to have hundreds of instances running, burning electricity and money. So we needed an infrastructure that scales automatically and spins up new instances in the cloud on demand without a hitch. So what did we do? ARCWARE to the rescue. By utilizing ARCWARE's pixel streaming solution, we can stream Unreal's full high-fidelity visuals at 30 FPS using just 1 megabit of bandwidth. So even users on constrained networks can get a smooth experience. And if the bandwidth is not a problem, we can scale the quality up to increase the visual quality. And using ARCWARE, we can deliver conversations to any semi-modern browser, desktop, phone, tablet, or kiosk, without download, without plugins, without special hardware requirements. And additionally, ARCWARE enables us to use the cloud-native architecture to auto-scale instances up or down to support only a few or dozens or hundreds of concurrent sessions, always with consistent performance. And one special feature from ARCWARE that we really came to love is direct flow. Thanks to the direct flow plugin, we can tweak custom C++ logic or blueprint settings and see the results instantly. No packaging, no uploads, no waiting, and still the testing is actually on the streaming environment where we can really test our final application. So this really saved us valuable development time and some headache. Now, where is AccessPoint actually used? Let's take a look at a few examples. The first one is something that Rudi already mentioned before. It's in the medical field, in medical training. So we set up a system where doctors and students conduct interviews with AI-driven avatars that present varied symptoms, from common colds to complex chronic conditions. So they learn to ask the right diagnostic questions. You have probably seen the video that was running, a short video, where we don't only have a talking head, but we can show the whole body using Unreal Engine. And on top of that, we have a system in place that can give our avatars different personality features. So we can also generate cases where avatars display different moods, calm, anxious, resistant, and helping trainees to develop empathy and adapt their conversation skills on the fly. A second example for an application are job interviews. Candidates can sit down with an AI interviewer that listens to their answers and follows up with on-the-spot questions without static Q&A flow, but a dynamically evolving interview situation. And of course, a job interview is something with high pressure. So the avatars can ramp up stress with tough, unexpected prompts, mirroring real interview pressure and also cultural nuances for international professionals. Especially coming from a different culture, there's an additional hurdle applicants need to deal with. And that's why we built our avatars to adjust their phrasing and idioms to match local business cultures and to help native speakers master both content and context. And to give you one final example for an application, this is in education. Imagine walking through the Louvre in Paris and stopping in front of the Mona Lisa, then chatting with Leonardo himself about her hidden smile. That's our interactive history and cultural experiences, where museum goers ask questions and get on-the-spot personalized stories. Our picture a grad student preparing for their thesis defense. They step up to a committee that interrupts with tough follow-ups, challenges their data, and then delivers a clear, data-backed performance report. And finally, for conversation skills training, users dive into emotionally charged role plays, diffusing workplace conflicts, mediating disagreements, or negotiating contracts. The AI partner shifts moods and tactics in real time, pushing you to discover win-win language until it feels like second nature.
Let me start first with something which, just in general, because I'm coming from the ICE conference side, so from the 3D environment side, and I mean, characters, or let's say avatars, which are animated. That's not technically in itself an environment, but obviously us as human beings, we always interact with within a 3D environment. So my question would be in, let's say, in the extending into the entertainment or games with the, let's say, this notion of NPC characters, or so in the sense of developing storylines, developing characters that react within a game to certain, let's say, story arcs or whatever it is. That's one side, one avenue which I see that there's a potential. On the other side, I also see that similarly the topic of locomotion within an environment. There's also dozens of potential scenarios that could be linked to some sort of AI-related training in, I don't know, whatever it is. For those two different types of fields, did you get some, let's say, or did you research this field also a little bit? Do you see this as an extension later on to develop further business cases, or what's your, let's say, take on those two fields?
Yes, we actually kind of made a strategic decision quite early on that we are not going into the interactive game environment type of application, but rather in more in the professional sense. So less entertainment and more training and education. So the way we set up our system is that Unreal Engine is kind of at the end of it. Most of the logic, all the code and the API calls, etc., happens outside the engine. Right? In that sense, the engine is, say, the visualizing end of the pipeline, but not the essential one that handles all the communication. If you would want to set up a, let's say, an NPC AI system, it would have to be handled from the engine itself. There are plugins for that. Conf AI, one of the most familiar ones, they're partnering with NVIDIA, which allows that to do all the communication from inside the engine. But for us, it was not something we were interested in.
All right, but I do have another question, which is of more technical, like kind of going into a little bit of a different direction. Do we get some other questions?
No, we have no. You get to go. Enjoy.
Right. So then, kind of in the sense of potentially, let's say, developing the whole technology stack forward. So at the moment, what you have is, I assume you have, so on the one hand side, there's a server solution which you need at the moment for the visualization, aka ARCWARE, right? On the other hand, you need to have a tech stack which is for the AI inference, or let's say taking an audio feed, for example, and live translating it, and then that's one aspect, kind of the audio to text, and then the third component is the let's say that text to LLM, get the whole thing back, and then translate this into an animation. So what I want to get to, so there's multiple kind of almost real-time inference phases in the whole process which you're running in real time. Now, my question would be, would it be an advantage to you to run all of the inference tech stacks on the same physical hardware as you're running the ARCWARE visualization? So meaning dedicating potentially part of the GPU for rendering and part of the GPU for the inference. Is that something you're thinking about, or is that something that you don't even think you need to be optimizing?
That is definitely something we are thinking about, and this might save some time actually, but this requires really a lot of optimization to get this. I mean, we have three kinds of AI models that are involved. We need something to translate the speech into text. We have the large language model, which is by far the most complex one, and then transform the text into the response text into speech again. Plus generate realistic lip synchronization and face animations. So that is really quite a lot going on. And for now, the approach to use several dedicated services for this was the most viable. But you're absolutely right. This is definitely something we are thinking about, and which might save us some time. Because this is was one for me as the technical lead in this project. This was one of the most complex things to get all these systems interconnected, so that we get some real-time experience from that.
Then, shall we go for a final question for Steffen and Rudi?
Yeah,
And then,
of course.
because Fatih actually has one, which is, how do you solve the facial expressions and emotions just with text output from an LLM? It seems like a big challenge to make it believable without motion capture. This is definitely a very interesting topic. So, gentlemen.
So as Manus mentioned before, that's black magic. No, we're actually using a service that translates the text into speech, and also provides the blend shapes for these. So that's basically a result of the text-to-speech translation process, and we can more or less directly use the result from that to drive the facial animations. But for the moment, this also ties us to use such a service that provides this data. And one of the steps that we'll be going in next will be to use dedicated audio to face services, so that you can use a broader range of text-to-speech services. Yeah, but this is actually quite a bottleneck in the whole thing. I agree.
Yeah, to add to that, Fatih, of course, what you can achieve with motion capture has a much broader range of emotional expressions and micro expressions. Right? So what we have at the moment is a much smaller range that we can cover. There is, you're probably familiar with NVIDIA ACE, the Avatar Cloud engine that kind of is the cloud service from the previous audio to face module that they had in Omniverse, which uses also neural networks to extract emotional meaning from audio and then translate it into the corresponding facial expressions. But for us, it's basically a cost efficiency question as well, because having the latest and the newest and the best technology always comes with a price if we want our customers to be able to have a reasonable price range, where we kind of have found a sweet spot where it's still kind of there is expression, but it's not let's say too sophisticated.
Good, thank you guys. Fortunately, we do have a fantastic presentation for our last speaker. Fatih is definitely one of the speakers that I was very, very excited about that he is joining us.
Hey everybody.
And I am very happy that also we don't have to say we can't hear you. So Fatih, take it away. Looking forward to what you have to say.
Let's go.
All right. I was trying to figure out a way to close this out because we had so many amazing speakers coming up. And we talked about a little bit in before, and one thing that stuck with me and is there all the time is the topic constraint. As you can see, I'm the CTO. That means I have the responsibility in architecture and delivering the dream that our customer or designers come up to. And constraints is the #1 thing we struggle all the time. So I want to put a small scenario up, and your customer comes in, and maybe in this case it's a fashion brand, and they want a beautiful virtual world, and it needs to stun everybody that comes in. The products will stand out. It will be amazing. Obviously, we are already in the field of interactive real-time technology. On my other partner speakers here did a great job explaining what it means. So I'm going to skip that and talk about you want to achieve something, and this is where we start off. And I will use AI images on purpose because that's what happens now in the industry is your customers come with their dream scenario to you and you have to figure out a way to deliver it. And the greatest constraint, I'm going to take it out right away, is very obvious, it's budget. So, okay, we need to probably look for a smaller house because the Grand Emperor, whatever, what you want is not something that fits the budget. But it still looks nice, a lot of fidelity, you need photorealism, so that's what we look for, and there is hardware and technology capable to deliver this experience today. But constraints come in now. The real world wants something else. It wants, okay, well, how do we deliver this? My customers need to see it. Do I deploy it on consoles, on work devices, on smartphones and tablets? That means we already need to tune down the experience to fit the current average and technology and computing power that is available on the market. Here, I use the PS4 as a reference because if you take small mobile phones and whatever, the graphics power that everybody has in their hands and tablets and on work devices on average is not that great, but you can still provide great experiences, right? But that is a limitation. You need to download things, you need to share things, you need to adapt to stuff. And the customer now says the one thing that you didn't want to hear, it needs to be available by anybody and ideally on my website. So it's exaggerated right now, but welcome WebGL. It serves its purpose. Probably not the greatest experience here to have a fully interactive temple where you want to present your products because it's obvious we have a completely different foundation and constraint in terms of what we can do. On the left you see the computing power that ARCWARE offers with their 3090s, and on the right is the average WebGL render resource available to your end users. So throughout our time, to my time, to the in the industry, we always cared about where it's going to be sitting on and how the users are going to see it. Because sadly, for the artists, for all the artists here, that's your limiting factor. If somebody tells you, hey, it needs to run on an Oculus Quest, we had that. Everything feels a little bit bad because you cannot go all in on Unreal Engine and take the most out of it. But you heard it, there is a solution to that, and I'm going to talk today why we decided it's the right path to go. And we started with it in 2019, so it was very early. We were one of the first that did big pixel streaming projects. And what we did is essentially decided that we have to get rid of all these devices that we push to. We remove all the support. We don't do VR. Because we are in the middle of a pandemic and nobody has VR headsets. And so it was very interesting, but it also brought a lot of benefits. And the major one is the term of that your constraints are fixed now. You know what your target is. Every artist knows what to test against. The hardware is the same for every single customer that you have. It's like developing for a console, something that like an exclusive title in the video game industry. We don't have that anymore. So the environment for developers is really bad right now. You have hundreds of different devices. You have different Xboxes. You have different PlayStations. Everybody has a different PC, and it's very difficult. It takes a lot of time, resources. Every project costs so much more money. But if you go with pixel streaming, if the use case fits, it means you have one target, you can be very fast, you can be very clear what you can achieve. And as soon as the servers get better, the whole experiences grow automatically. And a little bit about me. So I said before, I have experience over 12 years in immersive technology. So what I did basically is I jumped in with the DK2 very early. In 2014 or something, when this technology came up and was available through Kickstarter. And I also was lucky because I was next to a person that got Unreal Engine 4 on a USB stick that you needed to pre-compile. And I decided to found a company with my colleagues. It's called NoiseVR. It's a technology that we created to host live concerts within virtual reality. Over the time, it evolved out of virtual reality, so it's also browser-based live concerts with real-time visuals and a lot of users that need to be able to join the space. So my theme is creating social, multiplayer, interactive experiences. But also the other things, I founded the VR HQ in Hamburg, which is an event space, but also VR arcade that you can come by and visit. With 2 hours, you can visit a lot of different VR experiences. I founded the virtual production studio, so we did like advertising, real-time production for live streams with big LED walls. But my passion in the last 5 years was avatar-based multiplayer platform. And that's where I spent the most time in, and that's where we grew the most, or I grew the most as an Unreal Engine expert. And it's called Meadow. So very briefly, we built a multiplayer foundation, the whole tech stack from data, how we bring in content, how we connect the users to the space, how we make the user experience easy, build avatar systems, and a framework to bring in any world that you want, while also being in a multiplayer environment with hundreds of avatars, being able to talk with emojis, jump on vehicles, drive around, and that's like the base technology that we built over time. And we were lucky to have like a lot of great experiences that we were able to build on our framework. And later on, I have 3 use cases that I brought today, which I want to use to just iterate on what was the initial goal, why we decided to go that path, and what the technology allowed us to do. And I hope that brings a little bit of value today. And we just recently have a new product. Currently it's called Plaza. No multiplayer this time, but we try to revolutionize how easy it is to get into and sell, do marketing for buildings that are not yet created. So a full tech stack from browser interface, connection to CMS, and bring in building data and user technology that is brand new. It's called Gaussian splats to create experiences that are very believable, realistic, and have a great value. But I have one use case that dives a little deeper into this. So a use case that came up for us is Procter & Gamble approached us in the middle of the pandemic. And it was clear we need to replace media tours and client meetings. And because how these customers, they operate in a very personal, one-to-one manner. Their customers are big retailers. They have new products. They want to show them. So that's why they are on CES and other big environments. And the PG Live Lab is basically the top level. It's a company itself and representing all their hundreds of different brands like Braun, Gillette. But each brand acts independently from each other. But here we have an opportunity to showcase all of them and the latest and greatest. So they need to maintain a really high quality representation of their products. If the product looks like this, it needs to look like this. It doesn't make sense to have a low poly version delivered. It needs to be very precise. And the biggest challenge, it's the first time for everybody. It's brand new right now. Everybody knows Second Life, but forgot about it. And so how do we deliver something that is user-friendly and works? And over the course of many years, we expanded and built out the PG Live Lab, which is like a completely virtual platform. We solved challenges like delivering hundreds of interactive avatars into the space, live presentations, build brand spaces where you had like people jumping in avatars with historic roles, answering questions, product presentations. We had hundreds of staff members joining in and answering questions. We built like little games, and all of that was delivered through streaming because that was a way where we could reach everybody, have low access point, and even the C-level was able to use Macs. And at that time, like something that was not standard to get into a complex experience like this. So our artists and we as a product team could deliver a fast, high quality products because we use Unreal. We could use Unreal Engine. We didn't have to go any WebGL rendering technology. And that was like a strength that we had. We were able to use all the strengths of Unreal in terms of how fast you can build and deliver basically complex projects. And one thing that you saw now in Unreal, you can do really amazing characters, interactions, complex things like video games and Fortnite. And we use the term Fortnite for business sometimes because it's just there and you just need to use it. And it's really interesting how the business industry comes to us and has like no clue about how the gaming industry actually overlaps this here. And I think Fabrice did a great job at explaining how this is like a very inspiring change in industry. Yeah, so we built a lot of different experiences here. Not much more to say about this one. Another one is a great use case for this technology because Planet came to us and said, we want to streamline onboarding because in a time like today where a lot of people work from home, it's really hard to build connection and loyalty with everyone. And we want to start on the first day. So we designed together a platform that revolutionizes a little bit how your first day of work looks like, because you can meet your other peers as avatars that also started, and you have an HR person that has is able to guide you through the core values of the company. So here the challenge was we need to be able to develop high quality visuals and audio because it's a creative agency. They have high standards. It needs to be multiplayer. And since they have the vision and design, we need to be able to enable them. And that's where all this technology came in really great. So we built this on our Meadow framework, enabling new avatars, flying, different things like growing big and small, bringing in particle effects, using ray tracing for glass. And really the goal here was to make a great package that impresses you when you step into this world and go through it. And we collaborated with like amazing audio talent and the studio here. And in the end, we're able to provide a great software that is not just a single go, but thanks to Meadow, it's a scalable product because we built everything that can, so it can be spinned up, deployed multiple times for different departments. And Unreal and Pixel Streaming helped us to use the great pipelines that Unreal Engine has. So Cinema 4D to Unreal is something that we utilized a lot. Asset packs, as we mentioned, ray tracing is there. It allows you to create beautiful materials that are very lifelike. And since we're in the engine, and that's something that repeated over the history of using real time from the get-go, it's so easy to generate marketing material, videos, high quality renderings because everything is there and everything already looks great. So sometimes you want to have 20% more resolution, and then you can generate a video if the hardware is not strong enough, and then use it somewhere else. And since we're already in a real-time environment and created all the assets, we even did an Apple Vision Pro native project where the customer wanted to show that onboarding trainings also work on VR devices really well, and our system can combine the different users coming together. So the last one goes a little bit away from multiplayer because it's very new, but here the challenge was we need to be able to differentiate ourselves in sales. If we have buildings, apartments that are not built yet, they need to be sold out pretty fast, but in today's age, you need to convince people a lot more than you had before. So we need marketing materials. We need to be able to use everything that we have from our from the tools that we have internally, and it needs to be authentic and realistic, set in the real world. And what we built is a solution that helps come in at the beginning. Fabrice showed a great example, and I can just agree. It helps you with the initial phase of getting the green light just to build something, so we can visualize that. And it's being used for marketing materials, and in the end, you can embed it on your website just as a sales tool, so end users come in and find all the apartments, do tours. And one foundational technology that allows us to do this is called Gaussian splats. So the last 1.5 years, we experimented with what is the best way to get the real world into the Unreal Engine. And we figured out that the Gaussian splatting technology is advanced enough that it can be used. So the great thing compared to photogrammetry or reconstruction is it's much more performant. It's faster to create, and reflections change when you walk around. And I think that's the part where it's really stunning if you walk around in a scanned environment. And how it's been done is you use a video and in a specific way record your room, and AI-based algorithms create a splat, which is a point cloud that has a lot more complexity. So if that's something of interest, we can definitely meet up at a later point. I can show you how the technology works, but we were able to implement this in our platform, and the strength really comes to life as soon as you combine it with things. Because when you combine it with a virtual object, the virtual object instantly looks almost realistic because it's embedded in something that is realistic. And that allowed us to create this product because the building itself, if we would create a virtual environment, would look like a very gaming preview rendering kind of thing. But since we scan the environment and place it, the building in, it instantly looks like it's naturally in place. And I think this is a very interesting technology that we also see with Meadow, where we want facility tours combined with virtual screens. But we see in virtual production industry being used to create fast environments and pre-visualization. And I think that's one of the key aspects where ARCWARE also comes in, because it still requires big hardware to create complex scans and see them in real time. And cloud streaming is like there already. So we could use it to deliver highly interactive experiences that have complex scans in them. And one thing that's also important, but we've seen it, is Unreal. Using Unreal compared to other tools just allows us to import industry standard buildings, objects into the engine and save a lot of time and money by just doing that. So if you use pixel streaming and you will look at it on a website, or later you will see that there is price attached to it, and it should maybe surprise you that, or it might look expensive, but what you need to understand is you're offloading all the work from the beginning into something that is more sustainable. The initial price is much lower than if you would try this, deliver this in a different environment or for VR or something else. And I think that's really what I wanted to tackle on here is the constraints of the different hardware, and what experience you want to deliver is really offset by the ability to have the strongest PC available at all times. And that's where I, after all these years in pixel streaming, want to definitely say thanks to ARCWARE, because they build a system that actually runs and has impressive hardware. And that just means I don't have to, I have projects, and I didn't have that in the past, where I didn't look at the technical foundation of draw calls and materials and texture sizes, because the PC is so strong that all our basic flows are already enough. And I just had it yesterday. We need to move in massive objects and change them, and we just skipped the optimization because nobody paid for it, and it runs. So that's a great benefit if you have like the almost best rendering hardware just there for the end consumer to use.
Madis? Yeah, I mean it's hard to keep up with all of the details which you're dropping. It's my ADHD brain. I have to concentrate to keep up with everything. But so maybe just a first very quick question. So how big is your team size? Just to have so in the sense of, because there's tons of different types of natures of projects which you're handling that have different, let's say, technical needs, from 3D scanning to, or let's say, photogrammetry, Gaussian splatting, optimizing CAD data for running in real time. 3D animation, rendering, all and combining all of the tech stack. So just for the people that don't know how big your company is, how many people do you have on staff, basically?
I think the first answer I want to give is that you don't, in today's age, you don't need that many anymore. Partially because of AI, but also because Unreal offers so many of these tools, and you find templates all over the place. So, but if you look at Meadow and just a general project like the Live Lab, and you want to realize that you have multiple rooms that you create and multiple environments that you have to build, or games that you program. If I take out the platform work and say the platform is there, you just need to create content for it, then a project like this can be delivered with 10 people, where you have to look at artists that create 3D models and animators and experts in level design, and then you have your programmers. But I also been able to deliver great things with just 2 or 3 people, because the way this technology works is you get really fast to a certain point. I think Unreal's greatest strength is you get to the 80% really fast, but the last 20 are very horrible. And if you look at Unity, the first 80 is very difficult, but the last 20 is amazing if you got the skill. So I think that's like why we are able to create prototypes really fast and with small teams, because you open the editor, you can do everything in there. You can, as a programmer, create a level or get a template for a level, or somebody builds a tool where you can just paint on the floor and it automatically looks great. So we're really in a day and age where it just gets better, because AI tools comes in and allows a programmer to create art, programmer to create UI and interfaces, and an artist to create programs. So I believe that's, I would say the average team sizes really depends then on what you want to achieve in terms of complexity of the world or of your plan, but not in the, am I able to create, I will never be able to create such a big world with so many things alone. But I think it's the greatest time actually to have like small focused teams, and don't be afraid if you look at like Unreal Engine, what you can achieve there. You don't need to find 10 people to get going. Definitely not.
Then I have some audience questions. Yes, thank you. I don't like being cut up. Obviously, Fatih, the Gaussian splatting is super impressive, and that's why we would like to learn more about how you actually do it, because obviously that means that once we see something awesome, we want to be able to do it too, right? So first of all, the shots from Hamburg, was it right, that you showed, were those made with a drone? And how do you create and capture these, like how do you create the Gaussian splats, and how do you capture the spaces?
So we actually have great video content on it that my colleague Jörg created. So if you find our YouTube channel, if you just saw BizLogic, you will find more. But in general, I can say it's not that hard anymore, because it's greatly documented and a lot of people putting out a lot of tutorials to get started. And to make it simple, the Hamburg stuff is you have your smartphone and you're in the city center, and you need to make sure that when you create the video that the exposure of every frame is the same, that the focus stays the same, because the learning process does the same as photogrammetry. It understands where each point in the room is and triangulates that. And what comes with Gaussian splatting is just that it's able to do more by understanding changing in light and reflections from different points, and creating a file in the end that is very small in size, so it can be used further. So you're in the city center and you have your video camera up. You need to make sure you capture everything from every angle. So it will look funny if you use your phone, because you have to go to your knees and stand up and raise your hands. Jörg has created a beautiful technique, so shout out to him. And you can also use a drone for architecture projects. Drones make so much more sense. So let's say you want to scanned environment where you want to place your building, then you just take a very simple drone where you are able to set these settings as well. Because if, for example, auto exposure is on and you fly against the sun and everything turns bright, then your scan will also be, it will still work, but on the texture, you will see some parts being lighter and darker than others, and in the end, it will not look realistic. You fly up and down from every direction, and then you put it into the training environment. And there is something like PostShot or Volinga and tools like this out there. You can even use self-compiled ones, because in the end, it's a white paper that was released that kickstarted the industry. So on GitHub, you will also find a lot of custom tools. We are building our own custom pipeline as well, because of the different needs that we have versus the tools that are out there. But in the end, it's as soon as you have the data, and currently the most format that I see the most is PLY. And the cool thing about it is you can also run it in the web browser really efficiently. So I give you the keyword super splats and play canvas Gaussian splats. They're doing amazing work. It looks amazing. You can open up in a browser and look at objects and look super realistic. Obviously, downside is you don't have an environment, you don't have interaction. It's just the splat optimized, really. And I think that's where Unreal Engine comes in. There's a lot of plugin vendors out there. And here also we have to look at our own system because of our needs. But in the end, this allows you to combine it with 3D models. And I think that's the key strength that will allow you to do more than just scanning something and then walking through it. Because here you can scan something, add virtual objects, check different scenarios. And the best thing is it's measure perfect. So that's great for architecture, right? Because if you scan something, place a virtual object in, the sizings match because the scan is accurate.
So it doesn't react in any way to the lighting setup in the 3D file. How do you deal with this?
Currently, what we do is the opposite, right? We capture a certain time of day, and then the virtual objects have to match this so it fits together. There are so many attempts right now to solve this issue by relighting the Gaussian splats. The strongest one I've seen that you can check out, because there are internal things I can share, is Volinga, for example. So we already advanced quite a bit in relighting Gaussian splats. That means that you need to keep that in mind in capturing, like in photogrammetry. So if you would do a drone scan, use an overcast day with not a hard shadows. And then these technologies and these advancements, and I think in 1 year we were from 0 to hero, and I think the next 2 years we're going to solve all of these other questions as well. And then you're going to scan environment, relight it, change time of day, which is something that we want to solve, and combine it with virtual objects, and both interact with each other, right? The only thing missing is that the plants move with the wind and the trees, and that's where you, and currently we trick that a little bit by combining virtual and real world objects. But the 4D aspect, the movie aspect is already being solved. There's great research out there where a Gaussian splat is real time almost with 30 frames. So we will have that soon.
I have a question for AccessPoint AI, which is it possible that two different avatars have completely different personalities? Or that the same, that the avatars, sorry, what I mean with this is it possible that the avatars behave differently, as if they have different personalities?
Yes, we built something on top of the usual conversation engine, but it's like a multi-personality system. You can assign whatever trait you want, like someone is a difficult conversation partner, or someone is a complete introvert, not even wanting to talk to you, while others tell you everything about the neighbor's dog and the latest TV show, or someone is a liar, and you have to find out whether it's the truth or not, or whatever personality trait you want. And then it can be either randomly assigned, or the user can choose a difficulty level, let's say, of the conversation, if that's important for the context. So yeah, that's built in.
And I think it's time for one final question. And I think the most important question really is this is for everyone here. If you were to start today with pixel streaming, what would you definitely do the same, and what would you definitely do differently? Not everyone at once, please. So I'm just going to start in the top left corner. Fatih.
It's a good question. So back then, when we switched to pixel streaming, we were still heavily under our constraints of a system that was designed to be used on downloaded on like Macs and Linux devices and whatever. So we were just using 10% of computing power. I think if you would start today, definitely start from the top and go to the bottom, optimize second, because everything looks just great from the start, right? And the computing power that we have is there. Also, one thing that I definitely will never do again is display UI in Unreal. Everything that you have should be on the browser.
Frontend is the king.
And you don't be afraid. You don't need a front-end developer. Just ask your local AI. It will create beautiful front-end frameworks for you that you can then hire a professional to improve. But if you need to be aware that a stream is still can pixelate, has sometimes latency, whatever. But if your UI is snappy and you have loading screens that you put over it and other tricks, everything will smoothly combine together. And I think that's something that we apply now everywhere, and the magic happens then. I have to make one important thing is accessibility, because pixel streaming is very inaccessible. If you have a screen reader and you come to a pixel stream, it will be not able to see anything behind it. So if you move UI and context elements into the browser, your users can interact with this with your system. We learned it the hard way that the pixel streaming you can do a lot of things wrong, make it really hard to use for people that have different physical or mental constraints. Keep that in mind. I think it's a shout out to the real-time industry is don't forget accessibility, please. It's for the scale of this solution, it's also important.
Fantastic answer, Fatih. Steffen, is there anything to add from your side?
I was thinking the whole time, and I don't really much that I would change. I mean, we were exploring different options in the beginning, how to deal with the pixel streaming, and we quickly met Manos and you guys at ARCWARE. So we could have saved 1 or 2 weeks if we had found you earlier.
Rudi?
Yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing process, right? So we did a few iterations with you guys. It's not that we would do something different if we were to start now. I think for us, some things are more clear. We would set it up more quickly, but that's the nature of the process. Definitely the let's say the local solution that we built in the first place before we even decided to pixel stream, or we knew about pixel streaming, that's something we would not go into and start right away with the cloud solution. But yeah, totally happy with you guys.
That's exactly what we want to hear. Then let's close with Madis today. Madis, what would you keep? What would you do differently?
The first thing is I would take more time to choose the right pixel streaming partner, because our first projects were delivered with another pixel streaming provider, and we just got 30-day notice that our production solutions will be down after 30 days. And we had 30 days to migrate them somewhere. So be careful with who to partner with in that case.
Good. On that note, I think it's time to call it close today. We have 11 people still in the audience, which I'm super proud of that we can manage, that you managed to stay for this long. From the ARCWARE side, I really want to thank ICE for helping us organize this, putting in the effort, coming up with creative suggestions, input, everything. I'd love to thank Andy, right there, Munich Motions, for helping us set everything up. You don't see it here, everything on the camera looks stunning, but there is a cable jungle over there that you wouldn't believe. We have fantastic setup, also because of Manolis working together with Andy on this topic. And is there anything that you would like to close on?
There's one notion which I find, I mean, I guess everybody can sense it. There's a lot of history going on. People knowing each other for years and years and years, right? It's something that one can really sense in the audience, in the questions, and especially in the team here that is around here. So there's a ton of experience, like massive amounts of connection and love and expression in that stuff, right? But so sharing the experiences when working with the technology. There's one thing which I'm just curious about. I mean, Dirk, you mentioned there's this Reddit page where people can come in and share the knowledge, or let's say best practices and things like that. Maybe potentially even share some certain aspects like templates to bring the community up to speed and help each other. So that's something that I really sense is very, very strong in the team or around ARCWARE, but not only the technology, but it really feels like family here. So so that's a really, really cool. Is there something that you maybe want to mention regarding how would people want to, or how could they become part of the family?
Becoming part of the family is pretty easy. Essentially, once before I've already sent a link to the ARCWARE website. The moment you start your trial account, we'll make sure to get in touch with you. For instance, one of the things that I'm very happy with is that anyone who we see that they don't manage to get everything out of their trial, Gosha actually contacts them, make sure that they have their that if something went wrong with the upload, she knows, she'll check. If we see that somehow something goes wrong, we help out, because when you do something new, when you learn a new skill, it's terrifying. And when you have someone who has been there before and who's done it tons of times, then suddenly it's super easy. And that's exactly what we want to do. So, whether you already have your project, you want to get started, you're keen to get started on a light account, or you have a client that you're making this for and you want to get a core account, we are there to help you get started. You can join the Discord. Discord is also all the way up in the beginning of the chat. There's a link there. Also, don't forget to join, of course, the ICE Discord. And just start the conversation there. Then we're trying to build something on Reddit. It's slow. Not everyone feels confident.
It's more technically focused.
Also,
nice shit going on there.
So just, we really want to make this grow. And it's not about, it's about making the pie bigger for all of us. Because the more people know about this, the more people start building things, the more brands start getting involved, the better it all becomes for everyone. And so, post your stupid questions on Reddit, post your smart ones, post your project. No matter how bad, great, fantastic it is, it's about starting that conversation, giving that exposure, and making sure that and for us to provide that space where you also feel confident asking that stupid question.
Yes.
And that's exactly why also we want to have these webinars where we say all of these things, where we, really we want people to just feel comfortable being around us, and then, providing their things. And I love how diverse everything is. Lots of men on the screen today, though, but fortunately plenty of
We're all equal.
other names. And we see it's a very global community. And so, there's, it's 4 different nationalities in this room already. So at least we have that aspect. So everyone's welcome. Ask your questions, show off, and ask for feedback. It's the only way how all of us get better.
Just to end things on the official side also for me. All right. So yeah, thanks also from my end to everybody. It's like like always, we have tons of ICE partners, the whole list here. I've mentioned it at the beginning, but I'm holding my promise. I always mention everybody at the beginning and at the end. Now, in this case also, shout out to Andy in the background from munichmotions.com, doing a fantastic job.
Andy, we love you, mate.
Cutting all the video in real time, putting us on the screen, setting up the lighting and the camera rig. So massive shout out also to Andy. And obviously also thanks for the collaboration with ARCWARE. So just a very last thing. So because we're doing so many nice, like Steve Jobs, there's always one last thing. So the next ICE conference is going to be on the 1st and 2nd of October 2025. You will see in a few days, you will find kind of the more information about it. But that's basically it.
Let's go.
Thanks also from my side. And yeah, I would say this has been quite a ride.
All right, so anyone who's in Munich and knows which Greek tavern Manos means, you're welcome to join us. Other than that, everyone, I want to thank you all for joining and see you next time.
Sweet. Thank you.
Thank you.